Welcome to Behind the Mic, a podcast by District 121 of Toastmasters International. I'm your host, Lavanya Manjunath, and my mama says I talk a lot. So I took it seriously and decided to make something useful out of it. Here am I with this podcast. In every episode, we have a new individual sharing their unique story on overcoming struggles and accomplishing tough achievements. We aim to go deeper and understand what it truly takes for people to shrug off the veil of the ordinary and become truly remarkable leaders and personalities of today's age. We aim to highlight all those extraordinary people that we see in our day to day lives. So kick back in your seat, turn up the volume, and listen to Behind the Mic, the podcast. Hey everyone, I'm your host Lavanya Manjunath, and today we have one of the amazing guests in our the Behind the Mic podcast, who is none other than the very youngest yet very wise with his thoughts. Welcome, Toastmaster Rudra. Yay!
Thank you,
Applause.
Lavanya. Thanks so much for having me here.
Great, Rudra. So we would love to know about you and your whole journey, apart from being a Toastmaster. That's the whole point of this podcast today. And thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule and giving us this interview. Without much ado, we'll jump into this. And before anything, a belated Happy Diwali to you.
Wishing you the same, and I hope. I mean, it didn't feel like Diwali. It was raining. I felt like it's Holi all over
No,
again.
I truly trust that. But when humans go against nature, nature know how to take its call of action. So this time we really wanted to minimize the bursting of crackers, and it worked its magic for some time. But see, again, we all have this great spirit of bursting crackers, and we did it. So that was one thing. And to all the listeners, wishing you a very, very, very happy Diwali from me and District 121. So, quickly, Rudra, I hope your Diwali went well, but Diwali will go even good with this podcast after reminiscing some of your old memories and talking to us and, you know, taking us into that ride of your life. So, very small question, just like an typical HR question is introduce about yourself.
This is something that I never thought you were gonna ask. So I never prepared for it. So okay, let me give it a shot. Let's start from where it all started. So I am basically from Bihar, a very small town in Bihar called Ara. So I am from Ara. I was born and raised there. I did my schooling over there in Bihar board, the world famous board where toppers don't even take the exams. But it was different in my case. I was a topper in my school, and I did actually take exams, and I did well for myself there. So that's one part of it. And then I moved places. So from Bihar, I moved to Calcutta for my BTech, and while in Calcutta itself, I joined HSBC. The organization that I still am part of. HSBC took me to places. So I worked in Calcutta, I worked in Vizag, I worked in Hyderabad for a little bit, and then I am here in Bangalore now. And Bangalore is the place, the Namma Bengaluru, where my heart is right now. This is the place which has given me a lot. Three promotions in the company. It's given me, my first or my it opened the doors for me in Toastmasters. So this is where, while I knew about Toastmasters way back in Vizag, but I think Bangalore gave me that courage that yes, you can do this, and I joined Toastmasters here. In terms of my Toastmasters journey, so I have been part of Rippler's Toastmasters Club, which is HSBC's Toastmaster Club. And after being president for 2 consecutive terms, I decided that hey, you know what? Let's try something different. Let's try and throw our hat in literally into the district leadership. And I was fortunate enough to be selected as an area director and then elected as the division director. So here I am serving the district, and I'm so fortunate that now I'm part of 2 clubs. The first Advanced Toastmaster Club in Bangalore. We are Advanced Toastmaster Club. So that's what the journey has been.
Right,
honestly.
right.
Nothing too much, nothing high fancy, but yeah, that's it.
Come on, being to vice president job in HSBC is not a like easy way. It's not a cakewalk, right? And you have done it quite well, and within like a 10 years of a tenure, and that's a really great accomplishment. That's the reason why we are interviewing today. Come on, Rudra. Also, we were talking about when we actually talked about your introduction and all. You told that you were working for a small startup before you started working with HSBC. So take us through that journey a little.
Absolutely. So when I was in college, I think it was the second year of my BTech, and just next to my college was this small company which was set up, and it was just starting to do things. It was a tech support company which used to provide troubleshooting for all the computer peripherals and things like those.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in Bihar, I was always fascinated with computers because we got introduced to computers, I think, when I was in class 8 or 9, something like that, right? And then I had very limited opportunity to, be in front of the computer, feel the keyboard, know the mouse, right? So I was fascinated, and I wanted to do something. And plus, I have always been independent in terms of getting the money, so I started
Mm-hmm.
taking tuitions when I was in class 10 itself. So I was always this thing that, hey, I don't want to ask my parents for money. And this startup, I got to know that they were taking interviews, etc. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let me give it a shot. I
Mm.
went there with the mindset that I want to do a part-time job there. I don't know what they saw in me, but they hired me, and rest is history. So I used to do a part-time job over there. My shift used to start at 4 a.m. I used to cater to Australia and New Zealand at that time. So 4 a.m. Cab used to come around 3ish in the morning, pick me up and a few more colleagues on the way. The shift started at 4 and then ended by 9 max. Everything used to get over, and then I used to walk into college till about 1:30, and then go back home, uh, do the assignments and things like those. So that's how the life was, and that was fun because that company, the small company, taught me so much about leadership that I think it wouldn't have been possible to achieve some of the things that I have achieved without the learnings, in that organization. And there is an interesting story.
We are
First
here for
time,
it. Hmm.
first time when I joined that organization, so I was selected. I went through the process training, product training, everything, and then when you start the actual work, they call it a BAU declaration. You become a BAU staff, right? That happens 1 month after 1 month of training, actually. And when my time came for the BAU declaration, I was actually rejected. They said that, you know what, you don't have the confidence, you have a strong MTI, and we are not confident that either you will be able to understand the customers sitting in Australia or New Zealand, or our customers would understand what you are saying. So you know what, try something else. And that's it, right? So I woke up every day for almost 1 month to go through this training, etc., but didn't get through. And that was a big lesson for me, because before that I had never failed in my life. I was a
Whoa.
topper, right? I
Whoa.
never knew how to come second in life, right? When you top your class, when you're in sports, you are
Right.
doing good,
Right.
and you suddenly get this out of
Rock.
nowhere,
It's like a
right?
rock bottom. It's like you hitting a rock bottom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, uh, if I want the audience to think about how I was feeling, you must watch a lot of Bollywood movies where the heroes get rejected and they don't know what to do with their lives. I was exactly like that. I didn't know what to do. I was not able to concentrate on studies. And I was like,
Right.
what is going on? But at that time itself, I realized something, that I have a very strong head. I know
Mm.
how to push myself, right? um, and I think I really would draw my inspiration from the Nike tagline, just do it, right? So I said, okay, let's do it. Let's try and do something different.
Whoa.
And at that time, then I got to know about one company. It was a call center hiring
Mm-hmm.
for a US sales process. So it was actually going to be the whole night of working, and then you go to go to college because you have your classes to attend as well. And I said, okay, you know what? They are going to pay me for learning. So let me go and try.
Wow.
They decided to hire me as well, but fortunately I met one of the really good mentors in my life for the first time. She was our voice and accent trainer, and she just changed the way I used to approach English as a language. She said that it's just a language. Just be you. Don't try to be somebody that you are not, and you will succeed. There is something called neutral accent. Just
Mm-hmm.
be neutral. Don't try to be an Australian or somebody from US, because you are not. And then she gave me a lot of tips in terms of how do I brush my English skills, my speaking, my confidence, and things like those. I worked there for 3 months.
Okay.
Okay. And almost every day I used to spend like 13 hours starting from my house to coming back to my house, completing the shift. All of it used to take 13 hours. Uh, and
Wow.
after that, so I used to reach home in the morning, say around 9.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And there have been days that I used to just sleep in the bus. Okay. And I used to go to like 4 or 5 stops, where finally the conductor will say, hey, you were supposed to get down there. You haven't woken up. Uh, and then I used to get down and then walk all the way back, because we never used to get a bus coming back through that same route. So I had to literally walk almost 2 kilometers back. But these 3 months literally changed who I am. Okay, that laid the strong foundation. While for those 3 months, my studies definitely took a hit because
Mm-hmm.
I was not very regular in classes. And whenever I went to actually attend classes, half the times I didn't know what was happening because I was like not sleeping at all. So 3 months, 3 to 4 hours of sleep. And then I come back and join the same company. I gave interview in the same company, and the person who had rejected me for that BAU declaration was
Mm-hmm.
taking the interview. And and he tells me, hey, do you have a twin? Because Rudra is the guy we rejected 3 months ago. He was a totally different person. We can't believe that it could be the same person coming back once again, like this, right? He was so impressed. He hired, obviously. I didn't have to go through any training because I knew their products and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They just gave me a bit of a session for like 2 or 3 days, and then they said, okay, you know what, go start working.
Mm-hmm.
3 months there, and they promoted me as a group leader where I had a team of 12 people. I was the youngest group leader for the next 18, 19 months that I worked over there.
Wow.
And I was the best group leader as well. So for 4 consecutive, so they used to have awards for 4 or 5 months together. They used to, like, not a quarterly, but 4 or 5 months together. They used to have awards. And for all the awards that happened till the time I was in the company, across all the shifts. So they used to support US, Canada, UK as the markets, etc. And
Mm-hmm.
they had grown to roughly 200 employees. So they had
Mm-hmm.
roughly around 20 plus group leaders who were like thorough professionals. And here I was doing a part-time job for 4 to 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the best in terms of the sales, in terms of the customer feedback. And here it's not I, it was the whole team, right?
Right.
And that's something that really laid a good foundation, because I was young. And when
Mm-hmm.
you are young, people are like, cool, let this person make some mistake. They actually don't have any expectations. So I was working without expectations, and I think that was working in my favor throughout that I worked over there. So it was an amazing journey there, a lot to learn. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, that company made me what I am today. While HSBC has a big contribution to how my career was shaped, but I think the foundation was laid over there. So, if you really want to learn something, if you really are starting,
Right.
I think smaller companies are the best
True.
place to start.
True. I think after listening to your story, one thing that I could relate to as an analogy was like a trampoline. Like you hit the rock bottom and it makes sure that you accelerate to the higher level, right? So the small companies and especially the call center had played a huge role in your life, I feel. Like it was a catalyst of, understanding your own potential in the very first place. So with this small thing, with the small story that you narrated me, which was really inspiring. Like I'm really having goosebumps right now because it's not easy to, being a student and also managing this is stay hungry, stay foolish. And you were that.
Absolutely.
And you were that.
Absolutely.
Because if you weren't hungry to grow yourself and be independent, I think you would have not even thought about going into a job and taking a small jobs and being wherever you are right now into the greater heights. So a very fantastic story that you have shared, Rudra. Really delighted to listen and very inspirational. I'll tell you why at the very end of this interview that we have. All right. So the next question is, you told that you were born in Bihar and you really praised a lot about Bihar and its education system. Let's not go into that because our three golden rules, which SAA says should not be violated here also. So, but when you're from Bihar and you actually traveled a lot of places because of HSBC, right? And now we are in Bangalore in a very cosmopolitan city. So, what was like a cultural shock for you, or a personal shock from coming from a small cities to a larger cosmopolitan cities?
It was like, different world altogether for me, to be honest with you. Because when I moved to Calcutta, prior to
Right.
that, I
Hmm.
had never been to a city as such. Okay,
Hmm.
my whole world was confined in Bihar itself. So didn't
Right.
get much time to travel, etc. So I had really not seen what really happens in cities. I
True.
just
True.
seen those in movies, etc. Right. And also I was not a big movie buff when I was till class 12, etc. I never
That's why
used to
you
watch
became
a
first in classes.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we didn't have a TV in our house for like 7, 8 years. My dad never allowed us to have TV.
Right. Right.
So nobody used to watch TV, etc. But that's a separate story altogether. So when I came to Calcutta, I think a few things which were really different. The
Hmm.
first thing was the women empowerment. When
Right.
I went to my college, when I could,
Mm.
and because my college was in a place where you have a lot of corporates around. Just next to
Mm.
our office was TCS, right? And
Mhm.
whenever I would step out of my college, I would see those women, the leaders. They are talking their body language. I used to
Right.
be like super impressed with how things are in cities, right?
Mm.
Um, and it was really empowering because I have two sisters, and they were
Mhm.
always better than me in anything that they did. So I used to be a bit
True.
jealous, but then that gave me a lot of encouragement and motivation that what, this is what I can tell my sisters when I go back there. If they are interested, they could come here and experience it firsthand, etc. as well. So that was one really important thing. The second thing was, in small towns, you just have families. You don't have friends, right? Like in Fast and Furious, they say, right? It's not friends, it's family, right? So we have
Familiar,
Vin
yeah.
Diesels. Absolutely, we have Vin Diesels in every single
And
house.
you
So
look like one.
yes, so now you know where this comes from.
Got it.
So we had like a concept of having families and not
Mm.
neighbors and friends, etc.
Right.
We all used to be there for each other at all times. But when I moved to the city, I mean, when we approached our neighbors, we didn't get a response that we were used to of getting, coming from a small
Mm.
town. When in the morning you go, you greet each other, you see, you talk, you stop. But here, because things were so fast moving, even though Calcutta is not so fast moving place, but still we were in awe of the fast pace. And I think that pinch of humanity that needs to be there, that we found missing. And we were like, what's this, what's going on, right? How can we not be having our neighbors know what I'm doing, where I come from, what's happening, and things like those. So these were the two, biggest cultural shocks for me. One, seeing what women are able to achieve, and not being a shadow of a man, and having that independence. And second, that missing humanity part. While it was empowering and so great
Right.
to see what really
Mm-hmm.
happens,
Uh-huh.
but that human connection, that that we don't really feel in cities, that we have in small towns. I think these were the
True,
two
true, true.
biggest.
I think it has its own perks and its cons of it, both of it, but we blend into it. We take
Absolutely.
both of it and we blend into it. And it wouldn't have been possible if HSBC wouldn't have taken you to a lot of places, right? And you're so very proud of the company, and so am I, because a decade in a company is not a joke. Where I myself don't feel like to stick in one company for a year or so, right? So HSBC being like more than a decade of your time, of your lifetime. So please tell me, how was it to work with the company, and how are your colleagues, and what are your learnings? Anything that has made you the better person. Over to you.
Okay. Well, I can go on and on and on and on about HSBC. Uh, but interesting things to start with first. I never
Right.
joined HSBC to make a career out of it. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
joined HSBC because the company that I was working, that smaller company that I spoke about,
Right.
things started to not work in certain aspects. And I,
Mm-hmm.
in a spur of a moment, I just resigned from there. And
Mm-hmm.
then, I was like, what to do next? And I got to hear that HSBC is hiring, and I was like, okay, now this is the next big thing. Because in Calcutta, where my college was, HSBC had one of the really high, fancy looking office, etc. And I was
Yeah.
always fascinated to, know what goes inside, right? And second thing, it was a bank, right?
Hmm.
I was studying to become an engineer. So I was like, okay, HSBC is hiring for a contact center, like type of a process. Here I was doing that same kind of a job through the servicing, through the sales part of it, etc.
True.
And I
True.
said that, by the time I finish my BTech, I think let me have at least 6 7 months of experience with this company as well, to see what really goes on in a corporate. So it was more of
Mm-hmm.
a curiosity rather than building a career out of this organization, that I went for the interview.
Right.
um, and I was scared. I was scared to death. Even though I was doing so well in my previous organization, I was scared to death because everyone who was sitting in that interview hall, around 50 people were there, and all of them, they would say, oh, this is my third time, or this is my fourth time, and I've not been selected.
Whoa.
HSBC's recruitment is so tough and all
It
that.
is.
And here I was initially, I was a bit nervous, but by the time I went to the actual interview after the written test and all
Mm-hmm.
that, I was relaxed, because I said, what's max, they will reject me, and I'm not interested to make a career out of this, so that is absolutely fine. So I was then, by the time I entered into the room, I was very relaxed, and I was just being myself. So just like how I am very talkative, etc., I did the same thing over there, and I'm super glad that my recruiter liked me and offered me a job. Then the first day of HSBC induction, and they had so much to talk for 9 hours. They were just talking and talking about the company and the things and the processes. I still remember it was a Thursday. I came home, and at that time, I told my flatmate that, okay, I need to go and find another job tomorrow, because I'm not gonna continue. They spoke so much, and I didn't understand a single thing. I didn't like anybody over there.
Okay.
He was like, tomorrow is Friday, just go there for one more day, then you will get a Saturday and a Sunday to think about it. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to go, don't go there from Monday, but just go there tomorrow.
Hmm.
And I actually walked in on Friday, and something happened. I met a few people. I really liked their approach. I really liked the way they were trying to start their career. Some of them already were experienced, etc. So
Mm-hmm.
I ended up making a few friends there, and then we decided to stick together. So we went through, we were hired for the same team, etc. So it started to kind of, things started to work. We went through the trainings, etc. I was not super, efficient in the training, but I was not bad at as well. So I managed to do things properly in the training as well. And then when I joined the teams, there was so much to learn. my
Right.
first my first manager was a Bihari, so he understood what it takes to come from a small town and make things work in a corporate like HSBC. So things started to work. I made a lot of friends over there. I had some amazing mentors over the year, and I think what really happened is then, and there I used to have my resignation letter in my pocket, because I knew
What?
that I don't want to make a career out of HSBC, right?
Okay.
But when I finished BTech, something happened. It was the time when I started to look for jobs, and I was
Okay.
not getting any job at a very starting, because I was going to start very new in that technical domain.
Right.
One thing that's there in the organization, we exist to open a world of opportunity, and that's
Mm.
something that really resonates with me. It has opened a world of opportunity for me, giving me opportunity to do things that I never dreamt of doing, giving me
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to be in places I never thought I would ever be, giving me an opportunity to be myself at work every single day. So I am exactly what I am outside. It's just the same me which goes into the work and gets things done. So all of it is there. So I am empowered to be just myself. And I think that happens because of the culture that's
Right.
there. Everyone it's not something that is driven by the rule book, right? When you have policies, etc., and you try to enforce it, things might just look all okay from the outside if you're enforcing something. But if you really encourage people to be who they are and who they want to be, etc., I think that really brings the true value out of it. And since then, I think I never thought of moving into another organization till today. So
Mm-hmm.
I've never actually explored anywhere. I've never applied for a job anywhere after this happened. And HSBC has like close to 250,000 people working across 60 plus countries.
Mm-hmm.
There is, I mean, what do you really want to explore? Where do you really want to go? What domain you really want to work? HSBC has everything there to offer. So I think, yeah, I used to tell my friends that even if I spend just 1 year in one country, I would not able to see all the countries where HSBC exists. So hey,
Mm.
for now, I am not trying anything anywhere outside. You never know what
Right.
future has in
Holds for
store for
you.
you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But for now, this is what I've got from HSBC. And I think the bottom line that I want everybody to remember about any organization is, if it lets you be you, that's one thing. Second, if people who work there knows what values that organization is trying to drive, and they start to live by that value, those organizations values become their value, I think everything else will get sorted. Your promotions, your growth, all of it will become the secondary element. But if you are able to be yourself, and if you have people around you who are able to truly display the value of the organization, you are in the right place, my friend.
Fantastic. Like, I really like the bottom line because there is a lot of negativity around the corporate sector too, and it's so diabolical. Sometimes it really makes me feel, should I be there? Should I be working like in a corporate slave? But again, when you told that when they give you an opportunity to be you and represent their organizational values, stick to it. Stick to
Absolutely.
it, right?
Yep.
So fantastic, fantastic. And now that you have told you've been into HSBC for 10 years now, and now you're a vice president, right? And you are in a leadership role. So, what is your leadership take on being a leader?
Well, it's very simple. I was a leader the day I joined HSBC actually. I just have a designation now, and
Great.
that's the only difference, right? Everything else is the same. Like I mentioned, the day I walked into HSBC and the way how I was, I'm still like that today itself. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
it is broadly because of the values that my parents have still instilled in me, and it is because the way I was brought up, the way I was groomed by my mentors, etc. And I think I continue to display that every single day. And some of the
Right.
things on leadership is very simple for me. I keep leadership as very simple.
Mm.
The one of the most important aspects of leadership is your mindset. What kind of mindset you
So
display,
true.
right? And to be successful in today's world, obviously you need that growth mindset, that agile mindset.
Right.
And I try to push myself every single day to to set those crazy goals that I want to achieve, and just be crazy every single day, right? uh, think about doing things that others might not even think that, okay, let me go there, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
one thing. Then over the years, I've had some mentors who really taught me about the value of small efforts. Okay, and one of my really dear mentors, he used to always tell me that never ignore the value of 0.01, because and he used to give me an example that if you have 1 raised to power 365, it's just one, but if it is 1.01 raised to power 365, it becomes 37 point something. So see the difference of doing those small
Right.
things, right? And the third thing is about speaking up, doing the right thing at all times. Okay. Sometimes doing the right thing is very difficult. It has been Sometimes it is extremely crazy, because
Mm-hmm.
you find yourself fighting that battle alone, because
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to do the right thing, and not always that aspect has resonated. But if
Mm-hmm.
you are true to yourself, you would
Mm-hmm.
have the strength of somebody that really matters, and that's you,
Right.
right? If you
Right.
have your
Right.
strength, nothing else really matters. So very simple again, Lavanya. One, leadership is all about being you, setting crazy goals, speaking up, doing things that make sense. And when I started my Toastmasters leadership, that one thing that I really tell people, that never do anything at the cost of common sense. If your common
Mm.
sense says that it doesn't make sense, don't do it, right? So I think that's another facet of leadership, that people tend to ignore all the times. And final thing that Toastmasters has taught almost all its leader: how do you really influence without authority? And I
Right.
think that has really helped in my journey as well, influencing things without authority, right? So it's a long answer, but if I really have to put few bullets for people, let me do that summary once again. It became another table topic speech, and just the way we finish all the speeches, what is the summary? So the summary is: one, you have to stay authentic, you have to be you. That's number one. Second, never ignore the incremental benefit of small efforts.
Hmm.
Number three,
True.
you have to have a growth mindset. You have to have an agile mindset. Number four, never do anything at the cost of common sense. And number five, if you're able to resonate and if you're able to influence without authority, you are a true leader. And don't run after these designations. Keep doing the right things. Everything else will fall into place.
And my listeners, here is what leadership is about. And we know a lot of people say, especially in LinkedIn, they just put up like the skills they have, leadership. And I'll be flabbergasted with this fact that how can you tell leadership as a skill where it is a whole package of all the skills? Right. So
True.
thanks a lot, Rudra, for taking us through your leadership journey and giving that five main takeaways of what leadership. And it's very simple. Anyone can be leader, right?
True.
And you have literally shown through over years. And I think you should have someone, as you were talking, talked about a lot of your mentors, from the voice trainer from your call center to whoever the right mentors that you have in your Toastmasters and also in HSBC. So tell me, who are the role models in your life?
Well, I actually have a board of directors, my personal board of directors. Okay.
Wow, let's let
Uh,
introduce
so
us.
so these personal board of directors have different set of responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, they know that they are board of directors in my personal journey, and some of them they don't even know, right? Like my parents, they are there, they don't even know, they don't even have to know about that they are there, because that's how they have always been, right? My mom and dad, they have been, they've seen times, they've struggled, they've had their own share of struggles, etc. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing that both of them strongly did was, let me be independent, let me take my own decisions, let me fail and learn from it. They were never like, and that's why I really like that traditional style of parenting. Not that now the parents have are bad, etc. But if I am to become a dad, my style of parenting would also be similar to what I had seen from my parents. Let the kid fall and rise up again. So
Right.
that's that. And then, like I mentioned, over the years, I have had a lot of people who supported me. So some of my friends, they're definitely the board of directors in in my circle, right? Because they keep me honest, right?
Right.
Doesn't matter whether I am a vice president or a director or what is, all those designations doesn't matter to them, right? We've grown together, we've been like, as we call it in Hindi, we have been chuddy buddies. So doesn't matter who does what, right? They are the ones I can be really true to them and share what's going on, etc. And then I have a lot of mentors in Toastmasters. I have a lot of mentors in HSBC, and obviously I don't want to take their names, but uh, all of them teach me something every single time. Either I'm stuck in a difficult situation, or I really need their guidance, their advice. Some of them I really look up to. Some of them are like people that I really want to become as a person, not their designation, but as a person.
Right.
uh, they are right up there, and you need certain benchmarks. So I set see them as the benchmark. So these are the people, and I think I would strongly tell everybody who is listening in today that you must also have your own personal board, right? People who can critique, people who can support, people who can go ahead and hold your hands when you really need them. So
True.
that's
True.
these are the people, Lavanya, I fall back on.
And thanks for all the board of directors to give us one of the inspirational speakers, Rudra. Like really, as you told, we should all have a board of directors. Like it's the VP speaking, guys, not me. All right. So 2020 and 2021, the year of pandemic, and I don't know still how many years it's gonna continue, but something major thing happened to you. So just wanted to ask you, how did world changed before 2020 and post 2020? Tell me, there is something exciting.
Oh yes, the world changed for good for me, for sure.
All right.
I after finishing my class 12, I had hardly spent time with my family and my parents, because either I was working, I was studying, and I was always away from family. uh, and I had this whole thing about staying alone, being independent, doing things that I always wanted to do, etc., etc. And then obviously, just like a typical parents, my parents also find somebody really amazing for me. I might have been really good in doing things in corporate, but I was really bad with relationships.
All right.
And and some of my board of directors took it on themselves to get me settled, as they say, but I don't know if I'm still settled. So they got someone really interesting. It was like finding a needle in a haystack. So somebody who can match up to this craziness that I have. But I'm super thankful to God and super thankful to my parents and family members that they found her. So my wife Madhu, we got married in February 2020, just before
Just,
pandemic started. We were
just.
like, just
Maybe you
this.
were getting ready for pandemic.
Yes. And then rest everything Modi ji did. He just locked us up together. We had no choice. It was all about surviving, and I think
Right.
we survived the 6 months really amazingly. We've had our own share of agreements,
Right.
disagreements, love and fight, but we definitely got to know each other really well
Right.
through this
Mhm.
time, and I think that these 2 years. So before 2020, I was a fitness freak every day, hitting the gym, and then there you go for 6 months. You get to eat home cooked food by your wife, all those sweets, etc. And I think I have gained some 10 kgs, etc. It's visible on my
This
cheeks.
this is the love game. No, no, no
Ah,
regrets with
yes,
that.
absolutely no regrets at all.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so Madhu has been a welcome change in my life for various reasons. One thing is I think I used to have all this paranoia about what will happen if you get married, right? You need
Wow.
you need to start worrying, and I was always worried about getting the commitment, right? It's like once you are married, you are committed not just for one but seven lives,
Mm.
right? And
Whoa.
I used to think, hey,
Took the
am I
fairies very
ready?
seriously.
Yes. Oh, yes. I heard all seven of them and asked questions as well, just to make sure that I know what I am getting into.
Exactly.
That's what HSBC taught me. You have to be thorough with your documentation.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
she's just changed everything, and so
Hmm.
many things, so much has changed in terms of my perspective towards the commitment, the way you can support, the way you can be there for each
Hmm.
other, the way you can care and get so many things done, which I never thought that happens. I'd always seen people uh, you know doing things, etc. And we are not that couple who holds hands and walks on the road, etc. But
No
we are
PDAs.
the exactly, yeah, we are not into the PDAs, absolutely. But we are the couple, I think, who are there for each other, even with the fights that we have. At the end of the day, we are there for each other, and I think that's a big lesson, when it comes to
Right.
leadership as
Right.
well,
Right.
right? If you really look at it in that way. And second important thing is, while I had just seen my mom and my sisters as my
Mm-hmm.
inspiration when it comes to the women, my wife had her own share of struggles, and
Wow.
how she is now, I think, teaches a lot of things to me as well every single day. So phenomenal, and life has been totally amazing, filled with home cooked food. Before 2019, it was all Swiggy, Zomato, and sometimes my self cooked food. Now
All
I
right.
have home cooked food every single day, prepared with love, helping me gain weight, but I think that needs to stop, that aspect. But yeah, love, compassion, and commitment, I think that is something
Yeah.
that's been added
And
to my armor.
I'm really happy that it's going smooth and fine with you both. And congratulations in the very first place for you and Madhu. Hope one day we interview Madhu also, just knowing how Rudra is in these 2 years.
Very
So,
difficult, I'm sure she would say, very difficult.
okay, then we should take this interview sometime. All right. It was really fun talking to you. I think we have covered most important part, but the last thing is, I know that you're a Gyani and you just love to give Gyan every time. Just give us one last bit of Gyan to each and everyone who is entering the corporate, who is very new and who's entering the corporate, and just a piece of advice for all of them.
I will keep things very simple for them,
Mm-hmm.
Lavanya. The
Mm-hmm.
simplest thing is, one, in the corporates, it's all about your mindset. You have to have
True.
a growth mindset.
True.
The second thing is about your networks. Okay. You have to build network. And third thing is, never get complacent. The day you feel that you know what needs to be done, you need to move out of that place, whether it's that department or that role that you are performing. The day
True.
you
True.
think that you have learned every single thing that's involved in that role, just get out of it. So,
Mm.
keeping things very simple, have a growth mindset, try and learn one new thing every single day in your job. Second, build your networks while you are there in the organization. And third thing is, don't get complacent. Just keep moving. Just keep going.
To all the young people who are joining corporate and even to myself, thanks a lot, Rudra. It is really, really great to listen from you. And it was a pleasure interviewing you and your whole journey. Felt like you had a cakewalk, but cakewalk also needs a lot of time to bake, right? So, fantastic journey that you have been. So, we are coming to the end of this interview, but I would love to end this interview with the three golden questions that I have. So, first question is, what would you tell to your 20-year-old self?
I think I always look back and see, did I do something wrong, right? And I think the only one thing that I'll tell my 20-year-old self is,
Mm-hmm.
I was not very brave to take risks when I was 20. And I think my only advice to my 20-year-old self would be, take risks. There were
Wow.
so many things that I let go because I was not willing to take that risk.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if that uh, that advice is taken seriously, I think I would have been in a different place, doing something
Taking
different, etc. It's
taking
not that
risks.
I'm not not happy with what I'm doing. It's just that those risks I did not take. So I think the advice would be, don't worry, just take those risks.
Take risk, guys. Take risk. All right. So next up, what would you tell your 80-year-old self? Your future.
I think, one thing I always regret, and thankfully to the COVID that I've been able to do that or compensate that to a certain extent, is spending time with family.
Right.
I for almost 14 years, I hardly spend times with my family, and that's something that is never gonna come back, right?
True. True.
I missed seeing my sisters grow up, going through their college, achieving a lot of milestones in their lives. But thankfully now I have a niece, and with COVID I have been fortunate to see her grow. uh,
Mm.
so I think the advice to 80-year-old self would be, just to make sure that you are able to have that balance with the family. And second thing is that, never let go of this growth mindset, right? I was talking about this, that it's so nice to have youngest millionaire and youngest this and youngest that, but it will be phenomenal that at
Right.
the age of
Right.
80, I'm able to do new things, achieve new milestones, create something new for me every single day. That
Right.
excites. I think that would be something that would be phenomenal.
Right. And Toastmaster is one such place where I see a lot of people who are still taking up leadership roles, who are still delivering their speeches. I mean, that's the motivation. In that age when they are like not they're not feeling the very best of their health, they're still doing what they have to do. So as you told, and you are all about the growth mindset. Even at the young age of 80, you still have to grow. That's fantastic about you. And the very last question that I have to you is, if you have to say thank you for anyone in your life, who would that be? It's the time for you.
Well, my biggest thank goes to my mom, especially her,
Okay.
because even though with the things when we were at the rock bottom as a
Mm-hmm.
family,
Mm-hmm.
she never let us take that, or never let us feel that we were not in a cozy place. She always
Mm.
ensured that we were there. So, mummy, thank you so much. I love you. I don't say
Oh.
this often to you, but you know I love you, and you are the most important person in my life. Uh, so yeah, whatever I am is because of you.
Oh, I am in awe with the dialogue that you told. And I hope she hears this podcast and she'll be like, oh, mera bacha. It really does. We often don't recognize especially our mothers' efforts too, and equally fathers, but mothers have this super magical powers that we don't know how it exists.
True.
And it just comes to you. So thanks a lot for sharing the wonderful journey that you had. And the two most important thing that I kept hearing from you, which was reiterating and reiterating, was be yourself, have a growth mindset. I mean, that was the two main highlight of your whole journey, and hope all the listeners we take something out of it. At least not all. At least being yourself is what we can do the least. And with that, we are concluding this interview, but we have more to come in our next few interviews. Stay tuned, listen to it, and do follow Rudra, and he's gonna tell wherever you can follow. If you have anyone to follow you can just tell them your Gmail, yeah, your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn. Go for it. Networking.
Thanks a ton, Lavanya, first of all, and the District 121 team for this fabulous opportunity. I was just myself. I never prepared for this interview. I didn't know the questions, so I could never prepare for it. So I was just being me, and networking is very important. I don't have to use the term, the cliche quote of your network is your net worth. So if you really got inspired, because I can't inspire you, the inspiration has to come from within. But if you really liked what I shared today, if my story resonates with you, please feel free to connect with me. You can connect with me on Insta at me, Mr. Ru. You can connect with me on Facebook with Rudra itself. And obviously, I am on LinkedIn with the name Rudra Kumar. So you can just connect with me anywhere, any medium of your choice. If you really want to get on a call and have a discussion with me, I will also ensure that you're able to comment and I'm able to get in touch with you and share my phone number as well. But thank you so much once again, Lavanya. You are an amazing host. I'm really looking forward to further sessions. Thank you so much for your time as well.
Thank you, Rudra. Thanks for your time, your patience, and sharing your vulnerable stories too. So here we are coming to the end of the small interview. We'll not like to tell this as an interview because it was more of like a conversation, isn't it? Because he didn't know the question and I didn't know what were the questions I was asking either. So it was more of like two people talking over Zoom.
It was us expressing ourselves, right?
Exactly.
Our expressions.
Exactly. I mean, we don't want to have Zoom fatigue in this way. So just talking.
Absolutely.
And I hope you guys take a little bit of lessons from us, and do let us know how we can improve ourselves. And we'll come back with more amazing guests with you all. Until then, have a great day and toodles to you all.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Please find us on all the social platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Clubhouse by the name District 120. And follow us for more updates from the district and drop your reviews. Stay tuned for more stories because we believe that inspiration awaits you.